Ah, yes, the great outdoors, filled with wildlife and wonders, rivers, creeks and streams, trees, rocks and meadows, and all of the nature in between. Here we see a wandering adventurer enjoying the finer things, like birdwatching. So as I was saying, the great outdoors are filled with wonders and beauty. But before wandering off, it's important to practice a few skills, like navigation. Remaining vigilant and paying attention to all of your surroundings. Avoiding going off the beaten path, or the trail, so to speak. Also, avoiding obstacles and treacherous decisions that can otherwise cause injuries. Now that we understand navigation and the importance of remaining on the trail and also watching our step, we must always remain weary, as things can become unpredictable, even ourselves. Accidents can and will happen. That's why we should always have a first aid kit on hand at all times. Although the wilderness has its peaceful sides, it can also be a bit of a challenge. And sometimes it's up to us to push through the struggle and the pain to get to our destination. Other essential skills include shelter building and starting fires. Fluffy, full pine cones are a great indicator of a dry area, which is excellent for starting a fire and building a shelter. We should always avoid setting up directly under trees due to fallen limbs, also known as widowmakers. And if you intend to make a fire, it's not necessarily the greatest spot. Starting with our fire first, we should look for a clear open area, clear of debris. Brush it away if necessary. This will prevent our fire from spreading. Next, we need to gather our tinder. We're going to need enough for the whole night, just in case. Whatever you think it should be, grab ×3. Spotting pieces about 3 inches thick, utilize dead wood and things that have already fallen to make it easier and less physically straining. Utilizing only dry wood and leaves. Now that we've gathered our dry tinder, it's time to make somewhat of a makeshift teepee. This will help for the fire to burn upward once you have everything situated. It's good to have one burner log that'll last a while. Stormproof matches are an excellent addition for the pack and make fire starting easy. But be careful when lighting them, as they do tend to burn a little bit hotter than a regular match. Fire tends to burn upward. That's why it's a good practice to light the match from the bottom of your fire setup, as momentum will carry up through your dry tinder into the wood that you've gathered. Another method that nature enthusiasts like to use is the old flint and steel, or nowadays, magnesium rods. This technique requires quite a bit of practice. When all else fails, there's no shame in using some kind of fuel like lighter fluid. Just be careful not to use too much. Now that we've looked into navigation and starting fires, it's time to settle down for a moment and build a shelter. One of the more classic style tents is a typical tarp and string setup. Start by unrolling your tarp and laying it in your desired area, being careful to not snag it on anything or cause any tears. Before fully setting up the tent, check the area to make sure it's level, free of debris, and isn't going to cause any disruptions during sleep. Be sure to utilize thick branches when tying up your tent. Next, utilizing about 100 foot of paracord, you should be able to wrap around a thick tree and still have some distance to not be directly under in case of widowmakers. Once these two strings are tied together, stake the four corners and you should have a nice, perfect standing tent. Another sleep solution that avid campers will utilize is a hammock. Hammocks provide a small, simple, yet effective sleeping situation. Just make sure that you tie it to 2 very sturdy trees. Now that we know how to set up a tent for shelter and a hammock for bedding, it's time to relax and enjoy the end of the day, making sure that our fire is out, all food is put away, and debris isn't just scattered about, drawing in critters during the night.